Hi, and welcome back to Jen and Dan's Natural Healing with Plants, the go-to podcast for holistic health seekers looking to harness the power of nature for health and healing. I'm Jen. I'm a passionate health educator, whole food plant-based culinary coach, and I'm here with Dan, who is an exercise specialist and master herbalist. Together, we dive into the world of natural healing. We bring you traditional wisdom and modern science to help you thrive. So today we're talking about something that is very hopeful and exciting and relevant to anyone in their 40s, 50s, or 60s. So that is our age ranges. And it's how exercise done correctly can actually reverse the effects of an aging heart. And so we're really excited about this. Dan shared a couple of articles with me to discuss today. And so I'm so glad he found this. He is definitely the expert in heart health and herbs and natural healing for hearts as well. And so we hear so many things about how you can't reverse heart disease, but there are so many studies showing the opposite. So, Dan, let's start with the basics. What happens to the heart as we age? So, even if someone they're totally healthy, can their heart start to stiffen and lose flexibility? Is that for everybody? Like, what really happens here?
Well, the study was they took, people who were sedentary. Now,
Hmm.
I guess sedentary means you don't exercise at all.
Right, right.
So, yeah, I mean, those people, like if you never exercise, once you start to get 35 plus, your heart will start to get weaker, circulation get a little weaker. Your heart muscle can actually start to stiffen because it isn't challenged anymore. Because think about it, most people after high school or college, if they exercise then, they kind of quit after that. I've seen it
Yeah.
many times. So
Yeah, well, we have office jobs where we just sit. Well, we sit all day in school, but then we're usually active out of school, or at least we were when we were in school. We
yeah,
didn't
when we were.
handheld video games. You're outside running around playing on the street, nonstop, riding your bikes, roller skating, whatever, all the time. And so we were really, really active. But then we get these jobs, and then it's like, and you start having family, and it's how do I have time to have my job and take care of, exercising too? How do I squeeze in that other hour? And like for me, it's 30 minutes to the gym. So if I had to drive 30 minutes to the gym and then work out and drive home, that's, at least an hour and a half, probably 2 hours or more just to go and work out. How do you squeeze that time in? And so people are slowing down. And so they could still have quote unquote normal cholesterol and blood pressure. But because we're not moving the body, you're not putting any extra stress on the heart. I could see why that would start to slow the heart down and age the heart.
Well, the saying's true. If you don't use it, you lose it. You actually do. I mean, this is not only for your heart, but you're also your skeletal muscles.
Right. It's a muscle. Heart's a muscle.
Oh yeah, I mean, heart is a
Yeah.
muscle. It's the most
Yeah. So it
important
totally makes
muscle.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally makes
So
sense.
you're talking about, I recommend people, and look, I love gyms and gyms got to make a living too. But if you're somebody who's really busy and you're working a lot, I recommend having some equipment at your house. That way, when you get home, you might put dinner on, and while dinner's cooking, you can go and do your workout.
Right. That's what I had to end up. Well, in 2020, I ended up
Yeah.
putting in a home gym. Right.
So, sorry. So as we age, the heart starts to stiffen and lose flexibility during midlife. And the interesting thing is, heart disease is still the number one killer, and it's killing people younger and younger. It's taking people out in their prime because really, your prime ages are between 25 and probably 60, maybe even more if you exercise. And
Right.
as time goes on, people are staying healthier longer. But if we don't, and look, I know people right now that are young and they have office jobs and they go home and they sit back down. They don't ever exercise. And even if you're in your 20s right now, this will still make you sick. You can get sick in your 20s. You can get heart disease and type 2 diabetes in your 20s if you are you're sedentary and you eat fast food all the time. You can get sick at any age. It used to be type 2 diabetes, things like that. Those were diseases of older people, not
Yeah.
anymore.
It was called adult onset.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and now it's not. It's happening on little kids.
And that's why I want to bring this up to our audience today, because a lot of people, they assume as we get older, you're going to get sick. You're going to get
Oh,
high
yeah.
blood pressure. You're going to get heart disease. You're going to get diabetes. But the good news we're going to tell you this morning, it doesn't have to be that way. Now, you're going to have to put in the effort, but it doesn't have to be that way. This study
Yes.
is amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Yeah, so it's a study that's published in Circulation. And
Mhm.
it followed people in their 50s who had been sedentary. They were put on a 2-year exercise program. So, once again, it's not an overnight fix. You can't
Oh,
just
no.
exercise for a week and go, well, why didn't it work? This was a 2-year program, and
Yeah.
they weren't just doing light walking, but it was a structured mix that was 4 to 5 days of exercise a week. And I believe it was 30 minutes or so. And it even included some high intensity intervals.
Yeah, so I like the way this study broke everything down because, you and I as coaches, we get clients that, I've tried this for a week and nothing happened. Like, hey, you're going to have to take time. The body takes time to lose weight. The body takes time to heal itself. So this study had it right. It was 2 years.
Mhm.
And they took they checked all the participants' blood work before the study. They checked their heart function. A lot of the hearts were stiff and not pumping as well as they should be pumping. So, and I have the whole program here. It's a structured program. And so this is what they made the people do. So if you want to reverse your heart aging by 20 years, this is what they made them do. So this is how their week looked. One time a week, they did a high intensity interval training. It was called a 4x4 protocol, where you work up to 95% of your heart rate max for 4 minutes, and then you rest for 3 minutes of recovery, and then you repeat this 4 times. So it's 4 times. So that was just once a week they had to do that. And then they had to do one session per week of at least 60 minutes of zone two cardio, such as brisk walking, cycling, or jogging. 1 to 2 times a week, they did a moderate aerobic session, 30 minutes, moderate intensity. And then 2 times a week, they did some resistance training. If you look at this, that's not that much to reverse your heart age by 20 years. So at the end of the study, their hearts, the elasticity in the left ventricle improved and their circulation improved. Everything improved. Their hearts looked like a 30-year-old heart, even though these people were between 45 and 65 years old that were in this study. This is amazing, and it should give some people some motivation out there.
Yeah, I love that. So I was writing it down while you were talking. So 1 time a week of the 4x4 interval training,
Yep.
1 session of zone two cardio. How long was that for?
60 minutes.
For 1 hour. 1 to 2 times a week of 30 minutes, and then 2 times a week of strength training. So we're
Yep.
looking at 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 hours a week.
Yep.
And
That's your. Mhm.
yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 to 6 times a week. So you still have 1 to 2 rest days a week as well.
Yeah, it's a good balanced routine. I mean,
Yeah, I
this
really
is.
like that. Now, did it say
Yeah.
anything about stretching?
It didn't, but I'm sure that was incorporated after exercise. I like to do it after exercise, or
Yeah.
I'm sure it's. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because stretching is very important.
Especially as we get older.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, this is not that much work. I mean,
No, that's I'm shocked. Right, right. Just twice a week of strength training and then the 4x4. So that's awesome. So I wonder what else I obviously did not read through the articles thoroughly. What other benefits? Did it say what other benefits? I mean, not that this is not
yeah,
amazing, because it did say that they regained elasticity in the left ventricle and that it's reversing heart disease, but also helping to prevent further heart disease as well. And
okay.
so
So
that's
it says
amazing
here,
enough. Hmm.
it says after 2 years, the hearts of the exercise group show significant improvements in elasticity and function.
Uh-huh.
Let's see. Also, it says the improvements meant the participants' hearts function as if they were 20 years younger,
It's amazing.
effectively reversing the damage of 20 years of a sedentary lifestyle. So basically, and I don't recommend this, but you can do nothing for 20 years. And then in 20 years, if you decide to do something, you can reverse 20 years of sitting on your butt.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say it did say that it's important to start before the age of 65. Not that that
Yeah.
doesn't, if you're 65 or older, that doesn't mean that don't do this. But you see much more, you see better changes if you do this before you turn 65. So if you're 50 and decide I'm going to sit on the couch for 20 years and then start at 70,
Yeah.
you might have waited a little too long. And so your heart and the vessels and everything can just start stiffening a little too much when we
Yeah.
get over. And like, so I also remember somewhere else. So this is totally off topic, not off topic. There are two times in our life where we have like major changes in our health, and they found like in the 30s and in the 60s are when people tend to have health changes quite often. And so, doing what you can before you get to your 30s, which in my 20s, I honestly, I was definitely not a healthy person at all. I did ride my bike a lot, so that probably helped. But my 30s is when I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease. And so, what can you do to prevent any health challenges in your 30s, and then what can you do to prevent any health challenges in your 60s? You've got to make changes now to improve. I have a client who recently said, she always said, if I get this disease, I'm going to do X. And she said it was like a light bulb just went off. Why did I wait until I got sick? And she was coming to me because she was sick, because she had always said, if I get sick, I will meet with someone to go over nutrition, improve my nutrition. And she said, but why did I have to get sick first? And
Yeah.
so that too. So if you're not moving, hopefully this will motivate you to move. You realize we don't feel these changes in our, you can't feel that things are stiffening. Maybe you
No.
can. Maybe you get up out of the bed and you notice your legs or feet or something are stiff. And so you do can feel some minor changes. We don't notice those as red flags. Hello, that's a change. We need to change things in our body.
I'm glad you brought that study up. I saw that study. It shows that during the 30s, you actually age quicker, and then at some point in your 60s, you age quicker. But they
Hmm.
also said in the same study that if you do some of the things we're talking about today,
Hmm.
you can lessen and stave off some of those changings with aging.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't know, exercise.
Hmm.
I've had people that I've trained, and at first they really didn't like it. But once you start to do it consistently, consistency is the key. Once you start doing it consistently, you start seeing strength gains, you start to see your body shape improving, you start to have more endurance, it becomes addicting. Everybody I've ever
Yes.
trained,
Yes. You get to where you just love it. You can't not do it.
it makes you feel so much better, you know?
Right. Right. Which is so true. I know yesterday I was training and we were doing cycle. I was working with a trainer, and on the second one I skipped a move and she said, "Wait, is that the order we went in?" And I was like, "Well, maybe I'm just wanting to skip it and get it over with." It's like it can be hard. And so we're not saying
Yeah.
this is easy to do. There are moves. We have to put a little strain on our body to
Yep.
get a change, right? And so it's not just like here, the interval training that's getting your heart moving really fast. That's training in zone two. And so do you want to explain a little bit more about what training in zone two is?
Yeah, zone two, let me make sure I'm not lying, but let me see the heart rate for zone two.
It's not very fast.
Let's see. So zone two heart rate, and it also goes by age, but for zone two, you're training between 60 and 70% of your max heart rate. So how you come up with this, you take 220, you subtract your age, and that should be your max heart rate. Then you multiply that by 60 or 0.60 or 0.70. And so you want to keep your heart rate in there. So let's see, if you're, say you're 50 years old, okay?
Hmm.
So we'll take 220, subtract 50, that gives you 170 should be your max heart rate. So now we'll take 170, multiply it times 0.60. So 102,
Right.
102 beats a minute,
Yeah, that's
up
not very
to,
fast.
no, up to 119. So
Right.
102 to 119, that's your zone two, and you're going to do that 2 times a week. It's actually, I love zone two cardio because it's like you're exercising, but it's
Mhm.
fun. You feel good. You work up a little bit of a sweat, and when you're
Mhm.
finished, you feel invigorated. That's some of my favorite zone two exercise.
Yes. And you
Um,
can talk. You can talk while
yes, you
you're,
can talk.
yes. And so this is great to do with somebody. Now, I used to ride bikes and I did not like riding bikes with anybody, but if you are walking or
Yeah.
slow jog where you can still talk, that can be great to do with somebody.
Yeah, it's good if you can find a good buddy. It's very helpful.
Yes, yeah. So we're always talking about natural healing, and so this can reverse, which is healing, but it's also preventative too. And so you don't have to wait until you're sick, like I said before, and do these things to prevent anything from later on happening. And so not only does this help strengthen your heart and reverse heart disease, it also helps to maintain muscles. You're doing some
Yeah.
strength training. It's possible you could be adding some muscle, but we want muscle too to help with handling blood sugar. And so doing this not only reverses heart disease, but it can also lower inflammation, and it's not over exercising. So that's why, zone two, where you can talk while you're exercising. I don't know what it said for the strain for the 1 to 2 times a week, 30 minutes,
Let's
but
see.
we want to make sure you're not
This
adding any stress to your body.
Well, it says here so basically the long session is zone two and the two 30-minute sessions are zone two. So you're doing three zone
So
two
still pretty
workouts a
good.
week, which is
Yeah,
that's the
that's
sweet spot.
awesome.
And just one, so you're doing three zone twos and just one
Strength training.
HIT workout a week, and then two strength training sessions. And they also mention, like you just said, it's really, really important to build muscle too, especially as we get older,
Yeah,
because it takes strain off our heart and it helps our blood sugar, like you just stated. So that, I remember
right.
reading that. So it's really that's like the ultimate fitness program. Build some
Yeah.
muscle and get your heart in shape.
To me, this is like even less, this is way less than I expected. So 2 times a week strength training, 1 time a week of this interval training. Now that's high intensity. You're going to be really sweating buckets there. But then
Yeah.
that's 3 days of, walking at a brisk walk. And
Yep.
so really that's so doable. That's so
It
doable.
is for everybody.
Yes.
I mean, it's not much. That is not much. And look, it's what we talk about. This is the right balance because you can overexercise this. They found the right balance right here. You can recover from this,
Hmm.
and this gets you super healthy.
Yes. So if you're just starting out, like you've been sedentary, you've been sitting on the couch, you need to exercise, where would you begin?
I would begin with a walking program.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Even doing something like a couch to 5K, something like that. And so maybe you're not even running because you've been sedentary, but just using that to keep you motivated. I don't know if have you ever done a couch to 5K or anything like that?
I haven't. No.
You
How does
haven't.
it work?
So when my daughter was in 6th grade, she wanted to run cross country, and I had never really seen her run. We called her the Flash. The neighbors would call her the Flash because she was always running. But I was like, "Are you sure you can run cross country?" And I was not a runner. And anyone that knows me from my high school days definitely knows I'm not a runner. And so we did a couch to 5K to train to run a 5K. But you could do it and not do the running, just walk. But it's alternating. It's kind of like the 4x4 training that it was talking about. You walk and then you walk faster and then you slow down and bring your heart rate down. And it's just a really great way to build up endurance in your heart so that you can run
Yes.
more. And so if you do want to be a runner, it's a great way to slowly learn to run. Or if you have been sedentary, it's another way to just help get you where you're not just walking too slow. Like we get out and we walk, like we're walking a nature trail and taking in the scenery, which is beautiful and wonderful and also great for you to do as far as mental health. But we need you moving a little bit faster. And so I do like the couch to 5K things. And it's, cycling. I love bike riding if there's a safe place for you to ride your bike. Here where I live now, unfortunately, there aren't really great places to bike or swimming. And so if you can go swimming, that's another great exercise. But if you do choose swimming, make sure you're doing those strength training because swimming, while it's wonderful for the heart and cardio, isn't so great for your bones. Not that it's hurting your bones, but you need something to help with bone strength, especially in this age group.
Yeah, weight bearing is very important, especially for women. We had to worry about osteoporosis.
Right, right. Especially as estrogen is dropping. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I love that. So starting with walking or some kind of cardio and getting into the habit of doing that daily because they didn't say that you can't do it on those other days,
No,
but get
yeah.
into the habit of moving every day and adding in the strength training. So if you can find a local gym, if you're not used to lifting weights, you're not comfortable lifting weights and doing strength training, joining a local gym, seeing if they have a group that uses weights or getting a personal trainer too, because you do want to be safe as well. And especially if you've been sedentary, making sure you're using the weights appropriately so that you don't have any injuries.
And I'm glad you brought that up with walking.
Hmm.
But this study is very important. It shows an exact, routine of how to de-age your heart. But walking, they're showing now that you can walk every day. Actually, it's better for you to walk every day, especially if you're sedentary, like you work in the office.
Yes.
I mean, walking, a moderate walk, you can do it every day because it's very low stress. It's not really, you don't
Yes.
really have to recover from anything. I'm just talking about just walking, maybe 3 miles an hour.
I didn't even show you, but or tell you, I have a walking pad now so that
Oh,
I can
really?
stand and walk while I'm working at my computer because I spend a lot of hours at the computer. So I sit down when I'm doing interviews and obviously the podcast and meeting one on one with clients. But if I'm not, then I'm walking. And so I love that.
Well, that's a good idea, but I was thinking just the other day, man, I'm sitting a lot now trying to get online clients. I'm like, I'm sitting too much?
Yeah, yeah, our bodies are made to move. That's
They really
why
are.
the heart it starts to harden. Oh, you don't need me anymore, right? And so we need to
Yeah.
let it see, hey, I do need you, and as well as my leg muscles moving those and the lymph. Your lymph system only moves when you move. You need those contractions from all those muscles. And so just walking, you're moving your feet and your legs and everything and getting that flow moving through. And so it's so important for not only natural healing, but also for preventing any disease too.
Yeah, and look, it's accessible to all of us. You don't have to believe anymore that if you're over 40 that your life's over. And I don't think a lot of people believe that anymore.
Mm-mm.
But this study proves that you can stay young at heart, literally. I mean, throughout your age, I mean, throughout old age, if you keep this up. I saw a study, not a study, but there was a guy, I think he was 80 plus. He was a marathon runner. And this guy, his physiology was of a man, I think of a man in his 50s or 40s,
Mm-hmm.
but he had never given up. He'd exercised throughout his whole lifespan. And he still had a lot of muscle and he looked great. I mean, my point is your body doesn't have to get detrained and old if you just keep at it. Just keep at it. Don't stop.
Yes. Don't fall for the it's aging. Yeah.
No, no.
Yeah. I've seen pictures too. A picture of a woman, two women, both 80 years old, and one is looks strong and healthy, and the other one has a cane and definitely looks a lot older than the other one. They're both 80 years old, and it's like you can be focusing on your health and get to 80 and you look so much younger, or you can not focus on your health and you hopefully get to 80 and are having issues, health concerns. So how do you want to live out your later years?
I know how I want to do it. And
Me too.
I
Me
want to be
too.
active and still helping people. I know you do too, Jen. And I think that, I mean, the science is showing it's clear now that you don't have to become, was it the stereotypical elderly person that all they do is sit in the house and watch TV all day and they have to have a cane. Who wants to be that? If we
Right.
have a choice, you
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah, if I can stay strong and healthy and avoid that, then that's definitely what I want to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the sooner you start, the younger your heart stays. So think
Hmm.
of it as investing in your longevity, investing in extra decades of strong, healthy, active life. Yeah. So if you enjoyed this episode, please let us know, comment, And if you didn't agree with something, we want to hear from you. If you did, we want to hear from you as well. Subscribe to our channel, share it with someone that you know that needs a little motivation to get out and exercise, or someone who has some health concerns and you know that moving their body would be a little better for them. But thank you for joining us today. To learn more about Dan, go to danthenaturalman.com. He is a personal trainer as well. And to learn more about me, go to holisticjen.com. That is with a W, WHOL, WHOLISTIC Jen.com to find out more about me. And I also work with clients one-on-one and have a membership group too. So thank you for joining us. And we hope to share with you again next week as well.